My ex showed up demanding I pay her rent. I just said noted and went to work. The next day, my mom handed her a bill. Weeks later, she forged my name on a lease, so I filed a fraud report. Now she's jobless, facing charges, and begging me for mercy. I'm Jason, 31, and living in Brooklyn. Emily and I have been engaged for 6 months. We met at a charity run and have shared an apartment for 2 years. Lauren was someone I dated the summer after college. Fast, full of excuses, and for 3 months, she was my focus. We broke up. A Thursday message made it messy again. The text read, "Rent's due. You owe me $950. No hello, just a dollar amount." I replied, noted, and walked into the office. At the diner on 14th that night, the jukebox played softly. Emily reached across the table and asked what was wrong. I told her about the message. She listened, folded her napkin, and kept her voice steady. "Okay," she said. "We'll handle it." 2 days later, Lauren appeared at our building with a suitcase. Emily opened the door and stepped back. Lauren smiled, then said, "You still owe me for July. You said you'd cover my sublet." I felt my face heat. Emily watched, silent. I kept my reply short. "I didn't promise that. We aren't together." She pushed, insisting I'd agreed. When she named a month and a number, the air snapped. I told her to leave. Her expression slipped, then she tried for pity. Emily offered nothing. After she left, I called my mother and told her the essentials. Mom said, "Bring her the lease, and I'll hand her the bill." A week later, Lauren knocked on my mother's door, clutching a list. My mother handed her a photocopied packet, invoices, bank records, and a note clarifying dates. Lauren had no answer. It felt like a verdict. Emily arrived expecting praise. Instead, my mother slid the papers across the table. Lauren's confident posture sagged. 2 weeks after the first text, there was another knock at our door. Rain had wet the threshold. Lauren stood there, hair damp, mascara streaked, a wrinkled envelope in hand. "You need to fix this," she said. I read the envelope. Eviction notice. My name was on it. Cold spread through me. Her old lease still listed me as a co-signer. "You never took my name off the lease?" I asked. She shrugged. "I didn't think it mattered. You always helped before." Emily's voice cut from behind me, sharp and quiet. "You left his name on it, and now you want him to fix it." Lauren's face shifted between anger and fear. I handed the notice back and said, "Noted." That night, I called the landlord. He told me Lauren had missed months of rent and had been subletting for profit. My old signature had been used in paperwork, and her arrears triggered a co-signer notice in my name. I sent screenshots of her rent demand and old bank records. By Friday, the landlord cleared me and said he would pursue Lauren. I remember hanging up slowly, thinking how one small oversight spiraled. Noted it felt like a shrug at first. It turned into a boundary and a decision. That night, Emily and I sat on the couch and let the city hum outside. She squeezed my hand and said moving on looked quieter than I expected. I felt both rattled and oddly free. I didn't know what Lauren would try next, but for the first time in weeks, I believed we'd handle it together. We ate fries afterwards. Lauren didn't stay gone for long. Saturday morning, I heard another knock, this time softer, hesitant. When I opened the door, she stood there again, coat half zipped, trying to look calm. "You reported me," she said flatly. "They froze my deposit." I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her, waiting for something real to come out. Emily stayed in the kitchen, quiet but listening. Lauren crossed her arms. "You still owe me for that month. July. You said you'd cover the sublet." I felt my pulse in my neck. "That was 3 years ago, Lauren. You promised to take me off the lease." "You didn't." Her tone sharpened. "You promised." I stayed steady. "No. You asked." I said I'd think about it. "I didn't." Emily stepped closer, her hands in her hoodie pocket. Her voice was calm but firm. "You can leave now." Lauren looked at her, expecting sympathy, but Emily's expression was unreadable. The silence stretched, heavy and awkward. Then Lauren turned and walked out without another word. That night, I called my mom again. I told her everything. She didn't sound surprised. "Bring her the lease," she said. "I'll hand her the bill myself." "You sure?" I asked. "Absolutely," she said. "Let's stop giving her space to rewrite history." A week later, Lauren actually showed up at my mom's place. Mom called me afterwards to tell me how it went. She came dressed like she was going to a brunch, not a confrontation, Mom said, half amused. I gave her a packet, every record, every transaction, every date. I wrote a note. Amount due, $950. Reconcile with facts. I could almost hear the awkward silence that must have followed. Mom chuckled softly. She didn't have much to say, just left holding the papers like she didn't know what to do with them. That evening, Emily and I had dinner at my parents'. She smiled and told my mom she'd handled it perfectly. Mom only said, "I don't tolerate nonsense." I thought that was the end of it. But life rarely wraps up that neatly. 2 weeks later, I was sitting on the couch watching some true crime rerun when I heard another knock. It was raining again, steady and cold. Emily looked up from her book. Please tell me that's not her again. I got up and opened the door. Lauren stood there, soaked from the rain, holding a wrinkled envelope. Her eyes were red, not from crying but exhaustion. You need to fix this, she said, voice shaking with anger. I stayed quiet. What's wrong now? She pushed the envelope against my chest. I looked down and saw it. Eviction notice. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. My name was printed at the top. It was her old apartment, the same place she'd lived in years ago. Somehow, my name had never been removed from the lease. You never took me off? I said slowly. She bit her lip. I didn't think it mattered. You always helped before. Emily appeared beside me, her voice cold but calm. You left his name on it, and now you're here begging for help? You made this mess. Lauren looked from her to me, desperate. You're responsible. They said your name's on it. I held the envelope back toward her. Not anymore, I said simply. Then I closed the door. Inside, Emily exhaled. She's not done yet, she said. I know, I replied. But I am. Still, something in me knew this wasn't over. When someone lives on manipulation long enough, they don't stop easily, not until the consequences start closing in. And they were getting close. The following Monday, I got a call from an unknown number while at work. The voice on the other end introduced herself as Rachel from Greenview Apartments, the same complex Lauren used to live in. Mr. Bennett, she began. We're reaching out because your name appears as a co-tenant on file for Unit 3B. We've had multiple months of unpaid rent. I froze. That's not possible. I haven't lived there in 3 years. Rachel hesitated. I understand, but legally, you're still listed on the lease renewal from 2 years ago. My grip tightened on the phone. Renewal? I never signed anything. Then someone forged it, she said quietly. And judging by your tone, I have an idea who. That's when it hit me. Lauren had renewed the lease without telling me. My name, my credit, my responsibility, all on the line because she never removed me. I took the rest of the day off, drove straight to the apartment office, and demanded a copy of the paperwork. When Rachel handed it over, my stomach turned. There it was, my name, my old signature. But the signature wasn't mine. It was close, though. Close enough that I knew exactly who tried to fake it. Can I take this? I asked. She nodded. Please. We'll cooperate if you file a report. She's caused problems here before. That evening, I sat with Emily at the kitchen table, the forged lease between us. She stared at it for a moment before saying, She really thought you wouldn't notice. I sighed. She thought I wouldn't care. Emily leaned back, thinking, You're going to the police, right? Yeah, I said quietly. And after that, I'm sending her one final message. The next day, I filed a fraud report, gave them the lease, and attached copies of our past emails showing I'd moved out years ago. The detective looked over everything and nodded. You've got a solid case. This is forgery and identity misuse. 2 days later, I texted Lauren. They found your renewal. You'll be getting a call soon. This time, don't show up at my door, show up with a lawyer. No reply. Not that day, not the next. Then, about a week later, I got a voicemail. Her voice was trembling, a mix of panic and fury. You didn't have to do this. They're saying I could lose my job if there's a fraud charge. Please, can we just talk? I'll fix it. I'll pay for everything. Just don't let them press charges. I played the message twice, then deleted it. That night, as Emily and I sat watching the rain hit the window, she said quietly, She thought you'd still protect her. I nodded. She mistook silence for forgiveness. Emily smiled faintly. And now, I said, leaning back, she gets to learn what consequences sound like. Somewhere out there, Lauren was facing the first real storm she couldn't talk her way out of. And for once, I didn't feel anger, just peace. But deep down, a part of me knew, when people like her fall, they don't fall quietly. 3 weeks passed before I heard anything new. Just enough time for life to start feeling normal again. I'd almost stopped checking over my shoulder, almost stopped expecting her name to pop up somewhere. Then one afternoon, I got a call from my mom. Her tone was the same calm, sharp edge she used when she was trying not to curse. She showed up here again, Mom said. I froze. Lauren? Yes. She came with some nonsense about needing me to mediate between you two. Said she just wanted to explain herself. I rubbed my forehead. What did you tell her? Mom's laugh was dry. I told her to sit tight. Then I went into the kitchen, grabbed the same file folder from before, and laid it on the table. I said, You forged my son's signature. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a felony. I could practically see Lauren's fake composure crumble. She started crying. Mom continued. Said she was desperate. She didn't think it would matter. She just wanted to keep the place. I told her desperation doesn't permit you to commit fraud. Then I told her to leave before I called the officer handling your case. Did she go? I asked. She went, Mom said. But not before saying something strange, that she lost her job last week. HR found out about the investigation. I stayed quiet. Mom sighed softly. You did the right thing, you know. You can't save people who burn you to stay warm. That night, Emily and I sat in silence for a long time. She reached for my hand. You okay? Yeah, I said. Just processing. You think she's really done this time? I shrugged. People like Lauren don't vanish. They circle until there's no orbit left. Emily leaned her head on my shoulder. Then she's running out of space. And she was right. 2 days later, an email landed in my inbox from the property's legal department. Subject line, case closed. Tenant removed. Debt assigned. Attached was the official notice that all financial responsibility had been transferred to Lauren, along with a court date for her to appear regarding the forgery. I stared at it for a long moment. Relief, justice, exhaustion, it's all mixed into one quiet feeling. That evening, I forwarded the email to my mom with one line. Your bill collection strategy worked better than expected. She replied 5 minutes later. Good. Now maybe she'll finally learn rent isn't the only thing she owes. I laughed for the first time in weeks. When I told Emily, she smiled and said, So what now? I looked around our small apartment. Quiet, honest hours. Now, I said, we move forward. No ghosts, no debts, no old names on paper. As I shut my laptop that night, I realized something. Peace doesn't come when people apologize. It comes when you stop letting them rewrite the story. And for the first time since Lauren knocked on my door, I finally felt like the story was mine again. About a month later, I was walking home from work when I saw a familiar figure sitting on the steps outside my building. Lauren. She looked different this time. Not angry, not manic, just tired. Her hair was unbrushed, and she held a coffee cup that was probably empty. The moment our eyes met, she stood up. Please, she said, holding up her hands. I just want 5 minutes. I hesitated. Every instinct said don't engage. But something in her tone, the exhaustion, the break in her voice, made me stop a few feet away. You've got to, I said. She nodded, swallowing hard. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Not the kind of sorry that expects anything back. I just lost control. Everything fell apart after you left. Rent, work, everything. I panicked. I didn't interrupt. She went on. I thought if I kept your name on the lease, it'd feel like I wasn't alone. Stupid, right? Beyond stupid, I said quietly. But I get it. She looked down. They fired me last month. The forgery charge. It's real. My attorney says I could lose my license, too. I didn't feel joy or revenge. Just a strange calm. The kind that comes after watching a storm finally run out of thunder. I didn't want it to end like this, she whispered. You were the one person who never yelled, never threw things. I ruined that. I took a deep breath. You didn't just ruin that, Lauren. You taught me something. That peace doesn't come from keeping people around. It comes from walking away when they start using your kindness like currency. Her eyes shimmered. I know. I just wanted to say it before I go. I'm leaving the city tomorrow. I nodded once. Good. She turned to leave, but then stopped. You still talk to your mom? I couldn't help a small smile. Yeah. She said if she ever sees you again, she's charging late fees. For the first time, Lauren almost laughed. She would. And just like that, she walked away. No dramatics, no pleading, just gone. I stood there for a while after, letting the silence settle. When I went upstairs, Emily was waiting by the window. Was that her? She asked softly. Yeah. She's leaving town. Emily exhaled. You okay? I nodded. For the first time, yeah. That night, I deleted Lauren's old messages. The fights, the apologies, the endless "we need to talk" texts. Each delete felt like unclenching a fist I didn't know I was making. As I lay in bed later, Emily's hand resting on my chest, I realized something I wish I'd known years ago. Closure isn't when they say sorry. It's when you stop needing them to. And with that thought, I finally fell asleep without waiting for another knock at the door.